And a good spiritual morning to you once again. Thanks for joining me today for a quick chat. And of course, our morning cup of coffee. And a little while ago, I did a video on kind of gossiping. We talked about that Coldplay concert incident. And we talked about spreading rumors and gossiping and keeping our counsel, right? And I talked about that with a few people. And it got me thinking about sort of the roots of that. And we talked about patience as well last time, and I guess we're ending up, because of conversations that I'm having with people, talking about virtues and vices. So maybe I'm doing a series, unbeknownst to me, on virtues and vices. But so part of the difficulty with spreading gossip and things, the root of that, I think, is really judging. We have a hard time judging people. But of course, no one admits to that, which is what's interesting. If you say, "Hey, do you have a difficult time judging people?" Of course not. I don't judge people. I mean, I have my opinions. That's what we like to say. We judge people under the guise of having "quote unquote" opinions. I'm entitled to my opinion, and I'm just sharing my opinion, or I'm thinking, this is my opinion. But in that opinion, we think someone's a moron, but I'm not judging them. I just think they're an idiot, and I think they're making mistakes constantly. That's judging them. And you can say that it's just your opinion. That's what the definition of judging is. It's having an opinion about somebody that's negative and sort of thinking. It's not saying, well, I'm condemning them to go to where. No, it's not a condemnation. But it's judging in terms of saying, well, I'm looking at what they're doing, and I'm deciding whether it's right or wrong. Okay, who put you in that position? Who made you the judge to say whether it's right or wrong? And here's the problem. Then you express that opinion, and that's where the rumor and the gossip and not keeping your counts and all that. But the start of that, the beginning of that, is thinking, I'm in a position to have an opinion. I'm in a position to judge. And you're not. None of us are, right? We're not supposed to be, because we're all sinners. Like, none of us are righteous. So if I'm not righteous, how am I in a position to say whether or not someone else is doing right or wrong if I'm not right? But here's the problem. I think I'm right, and therefore I can now pass judgment on someone else and say whether or not they're doing right or wrong. And so it's stemming from pride, of course, ultimately, because we think we're so great that we're in a position to pass judgment on somebody else. But that's a difficulty, because here's the problem: judge not, lest you be judged, right? So we see that in the biblical injunction and what comes through repeatedly from Christ, and it's in the Lord's Prayer. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us, right? It's conditional. What we're going to do to other people, that's what's going to be done to us. And so we want to be able to say, hey, I'm going to forgive. I'm not going to judge, because I don't want someone to be judging me. There's that great old story in the monastic circles, in the saints, stories of the saints. I've probably said it before on the series a long time ago, but it's that one lazy monk. It's the story of the lazy monk. And, it's an older monk, and he's been at the monastery for a long time, and he's just incredibly lazy. He doesn't do the jobs he's supposed to do. He doesn't attend all the services on time. He's always falling behind on his stuff. And the elder of the monastery, the Yeronda, the abbot, is worried about him. And the lazy monk passes away. And now the abbot's really worried about him. He's like, oh my gosh, he passed away. And he was never really doing a good job at his work. And so the abbot, after a while, goes by and he has a dream, and he sees this lazy monk in a beautiful garden of paradise. And he goes to him and he says, brother, how is it that you're here? How is it that you made it, that you're in paradise? Of course, I'm paraphrasing the story because I haven't read it in years. And the lazy monk says, why wouldn't I be here? And he says, well, because you never did your chores when you were supposed to. Whatever diaconia I gave you, you never did it right. You were always late. You always this and that. He goes, how did you make it? He says, because I never judged anybody. So that idea of judgment pronounced against somebody else condemns ourselves. And that we want to be in a position to sort of hold your opinion, sort of like just hold on to it. Not only not to share it, but not even really to formulate it. Don't even think. So if you're hearing something or looking and seeing something at someone, it's sort of like, don't formulate an opinion. Realize, well, who am I to have an opinion? I'm not in a position to have an opinion. Let me focus on me. Let me just worry about myself. I've got enough problems. Why do I have to worry about passing judgment on somebody else? And don't be in a position or put yourself in a position to have an opinion. Let's phrase it that way. Because when I say don't judge someone, people say I never do. But I say, do you have an opinion about something well, of course I've got an opinion. I'm entitled to have an opinion. And here's the thing, in the spiritual life, you're not entitled to have an opinion. You're in no position to have an opinion because you're a sinner too. We all are. And we want to be able to not call judgment or condemnation on ourselves by passing judgment on somebody else. So just sit back and say, you know what? They're doing what they're doing. I don't know everything that's going on. I don't know everything in their life. I always only have part of the story. I never really know what's going on. I can only see part of it. And the part that I see, I might not be happy with. But you know what? I don't know the whole story. I don't know what's in that person's life. I don't know what's in their heart. And I'm a sinner. So who am I to have an opinion on what they're doing? I have no right to pass judgment. I have no right to have an opinion. So if someone asks me or says something about them, I'm going to say, I don't know. What do I know? That's their business. And I've sort of said the last time, that's not my secret to tell. And we can also sort of say, it's none of my business. And but say it to yourself, not in terms of just spreading the rumor or the gossip, but just when we see it, when we're tempted by it, to sort of say mentally to myself, because judgment is something that we do mentally. I'm not talking about gossip. I'm not talking about verbalizing it to somebody else. I'm just saying the mental process of seeing something someone does and saying it's right or wrong, saying I have a way that I feel about it, positive or negative. We're not even supposed to do that. Don't even have an opinion. Just say they're doing what they're doing. God bless them. They're doing the best that they can. Who am I to say whether it's good or bad? I'm not their judge. I didn't create them. I'm not going to judge them. It's not up to me. And I'm worrying about me and my relationship with Christ. And so when in doubt, err on the side of being charitable, of being kind, of being compassionate, and saying, hey, God bless them. They're doing the best that maybe I wouldn't have done that, but I'm not them and they're not me. And that's okay. And I'm not going to judge them. I'm not going to have an opinion about it. Because here's the problem. We start the process. And people always say, well, Father, I struggle with gossip. After I put out that last video, I struggle with that. And I don't know how to stop it. And I say, you can't stop it because you're not thinking about the beginning of the process. You're just worrying about the end of the process, the physical act of actually speaking it to somebody else. But what started that was you're not teaching yourself to not judge. You're not teaching yourself to not have an opinion. You're not teaching yourself to not think of yourself in being a position that is higher or greater than. Always think of yourself as being in a lower position. That's the safest path. Humble yourself. And if you humble yourself, then you're not going to condemn because you think about yourself as being the greater sinner. And that's why humility is a safe path. But we have to sort of not formulate opinions, not pass judgment, not condemn people, so that we just say, hey, you know what? God bless them. They're doing the best they can. I'm doing the best that I can. I hope that if they see me doing something, they're not going to judge me. So I'm not going to judge them or formulate an opinion. And in that way, hey, we both are growing together and getting closer to Christ and doing that each and every day. Amen.